Welcome, everyone. Hello, hello. Thank you for being here with me today. I'm so excited because this is one of my favorite topics, of course. So let's get started. Akasha here. I'm going to share my slides for a minute, then I'll be back. And let's see how this is going to work here. Yay. All right, so hopefully you're going to see my slides here. And my lovely assistant, Chris, will let me know if there's a problem with you hearing me or seeing my slides. So we're going to go for it as soon as this is finished loading. All right. So welcome, everyone, to Bliss Life, my show, my world, my life. And welcome to our topic today, which is money and success blocks. So it's a pretty universal theme. It's a pretty broad theme. And what I want to do is share with you today some ways to discover them, how they're holding you back, and what you can do to free yourself. So if you've ever felt like a prisoner to money, if you've ever felt enslaved to your job or uncertain of where to get more money, but you really, really want to do other things in your life, you want freedom, you want to feel free to go on vacation, to travel, to move, to get a new car, to work for yourself, to do what you love and not what makes money or what other people think you should do. If you've ever felt that yearning, that craving, that deep energy down inside of you, that you know something is right for you, you know you're meant to do this, and yet you have no idea how because of the money. Maybe you have some success blocks. And we all do, because we've been conditioned to think that what others think is the most important thing. It's where our security and our safety is. It's where our happiness and our love comes from. And of course, the same thing. If I'm good, if I'm attractive, if people like me, if I'm successful, if I have a big title, if I have a fancy car or a fancy house, then people will like me. Then I'll be successful. Then I will have reached that goal that everybody told me I needed to achieve, and then I'll be good enough. Well, the problem is that then never comes, because you either keep working until you're exhausted and you have no life, and you look up and your wife has left you. And I'm talking real stories here. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm talking about clients and friends and even parts of my own life. My wife didn't leave me, but I work with men, and they have money fears and blocks because men are programmed to say that this is where your power is, this is where your attractiveness is. You need to be the breadwinner, you need to make money, you need to have money, or women or loved romance partners won't be interested in you. Right? This is what's lurking deep inside of all of us in almost every culture, not all. And these are false beliefs. These are conditionings and beliefs, and cultural and institutional and family and ancestral and religious and governmental. These are all levels of thoughts and ideas and beliefs that we have been programmed for thousands of years on this planet to be a slave to somebody else. I'll tell you what you can earn. I'll tell you when you'll work. I'll tell you what you're worthy of. I'll tell you what your value is. And I'll decide if I keep you or I fire you. Have you ever lived in fear of losing your job, or not had a job and freaked out and been through stress and caused yourself to get sick and who knows what else created in your life because you were so terrified that you wouldn't have enough money, that you couldn't survive? Or perhaps you're retired, or you're thinking of retiring, and you're like, whoa, like me, I did everything right, quote unquote, and saved and bought houses and big investments and artwork and all this different stuff. And then I got divorced, and 3 years later I was bankrupt and homeless, and I owned nothing, and I had to start all over again, So money in the bank isn't security, but we think it is. Stocks and bonds and even houses and jewelry and artwork isn't security because it can all go away. All of it is fine if you want it, but none of it is going to be the thing that makes you happy, or the thing that will bring you that fulfillment of living your purpose. However, why are money and success blocks really important to focus on? Well, I'll tell you, because my spiritual life, the bigger part of me, the enormous part of me, the enormous part of you, our physical life and reality and body is a very tiny, tiny little part of our enormous being. We have a light body that's a mind, mental body. You know you have a mind. You have an emotional body because it gets really, really worried or stressed about money. Do you have a fear of asking for money? Oh my God, I spent most of my life just absolutely about to throw up and spit up and turn red and get so nervous and hide and run away and avoid it. I couldn't stand asking for money, whether it was for a job or for a raise or from my parents as a kid or from anybody. It was horrifying. I felt like a victim. I felt like something bad was going to happen to me. I was going to be criticized or ridiculed or told no and punished, or have lose love or lose respect. It goes very, very, very deep. Now, success and money tie into your self-image, and your self-image determines your life. It determines what car you buy, who you've married, who you think you deserve, where you live, what you do. Everything comes from this inner template of what you have decided at some level, not all conscious, okay, I'll give you that, of what you're worthy of. And you might be raised like I was. Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work. Suffer and hard work were the only things that really got you some approval or recognition or love. And then you programmed yourself to be the hardest working, to be the best person, to never upset anybody, to please everybody, to be the best at this, to do that, to work. But then perhaps you have an inner belief system like me and a lot of clients that I work with, that you also believe that no matter how long and how hard you work, you're really never going to get there, or you're never going to be able to keep it, or it's never going to be enough. And you're not satisfied. And you feel driven, and you drive yourself, and you criticize yourself, and you never believe it's enough, and you don't let yourself take time off. Really common for entrepreneurs is to just work all the time and be exhausted and feel like you never make enough, you never get there, it's never enough, because you're looking at somebody else who claims, and I say that very emphatically and intentionally, to have some huge success happening. Why don't you? And you're seeking and reaching for what somebody else thinks is the sign of success, right? And then I'll be good enough, and then I can relax, and then everything will be happy and good. And if you're old enough and you've been through enough in your life, you know that none of that is real. None of it is true. I've made so much money, and I've lost so much money, and I've built huge businesses that were super successful, and they've crashed for one reason or another, like the economy in the late 80s crashing. I started a fashion design business. We did a huge business the first year, and 3.5 years in, I'm closing it down because just before I turned 30, everybody went bankrupt. If you remember the end of the 80s, even department stores and huge corporations like catalogs who I was selling to went bankrupt and didn't pay me hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'd put everything back into it and lived off credit cards. And my husband had quit his job, and he was working at my business too, because we were like, this is it. Look what's happening. We got to put everything into it. So we worked 13-hour days and 7 days a week, and ended up having to close the business, got paid back practically nothing out of everything that was owed to me, got in a car accident the day that I was closing my factory down, where they thought I had broken my neck, and I ended up in the hospital a long time, and all these other repercussions from the number one thing that happened to me was I began to have panic attacks. Well, now I understand that that's a deeper pattern. That's an energy and emotional and a karmic pattern, and perhaps the soul contract of me being a slave driver, driving myself, and me being a slave, feeling like if I don't please other people, if I don't make enough money, if I don't achieve this thing, if I don't please, and if I'm not this thing, then I'm not good enough. And so I was a slave to what I was craving and what I was desired, like an addiction. And I was disappointed and never enough, and achieving more and trying to please everybody. And it was exhausting. And I pushed myself until energetically all of that came into a crash, or what I call a deconstruction of your life. I closed my business. I had no identity. Everything I'd gone to school for disappeared. I wondered, what am I? Who am I? I'm the biggest loser that ever lived. Nobody's ever had to have this problem. And in that business, I didn't even go bankrupt, actually. That one, that was later in my real estate business when I went through my divorce. And yet now I look back at that experience as one of my absolute favorite things that has ever happened in my life. Why? Because it completely deconstructed the life and the world and the beliefs and the attitudes and the lifestyle. I was working all the time and drinking a bottle of wine at night just to sleep. I was eating junk food because I didn't take time to eat. I didn't eat all day long, and then I would eat junk food on the way home because it was fast, and I'd crash in my bed. And it was like, if that isn't slavery, I don't know what is, right? I was a slave to trying to achieve something. And if you've ever felt that, or you feel that, these cravings and these unfulfilled desires within you that you just can't get to, that you just can't reach, that you want, and you keep working, and maybe you get there for a while. I would make money in businesses, and I would be successful from anywhere from 3 to almost 10 years once. But then, woo, something inside of me, those inner patterns, those inner beliefs, those blocks, whether they're karmic from another lifetime, whether they're ancestral from your DNA, whether they're from this life, there are decisions you made and embedded into your mind and your emotional field and into your body and into your DNA, and they operate and create your life. So when everything fell apart, I turned and looked for something completely new. And that's what got me on my spiritual path. And I became a healer and a hypnotherapist and a homeopathic doctor. And I went deeper and deeper into healing and deeper into energy. And I started reading about science, and I started understanding things and communicating to rocks and to trees and to fairies and to animals. And I started doing healing work with animals. And then there people asked me to do that healing work. And I got into radionics, which is frequency healing. And this was decades ago, when we didn't have the internet, we didn't have fax machines. We did at one point. And people would snail mail me a letter and a check to hire me to do healing work. Hard to imagine right now how far we've come. So I went on up and down through my life, constantly slave to money, chasing money from fear within me, chasing and building businesses that were partially from passion and joy and inspiration, and partially from fear and desire for achieving approval and receiving something from someone else. So these are the kinds of things that we're going to look deeper into today, because I've never met, and I spent 8 to 10 years when I first got online. I did a course called The Spirit of Money. And we looked at the spiritual side, the energy side, the beliefs, the emotions, the fears, and I discovered that money's the number one cause of divorce or any kind of relationship breakup. Could be a business partnership as well. Could be other family members or best friends. Could be a job. So think about it. Do you carry a burden, a heavy energy of blame towards yourself or someone else? Of guilt or shame or betrayal? Well, these are very low energies. And if you're living with them, you're attracting them and you're creating more of them. And that's what you're putting into the world. And I'd like to invite you to let them go and to free yourself from all of these blocks. Now, another reason I love money blocks is because they're so easy to see and to feel. They're so packed with emotion. I mean, look at this planet. We'll kill for money. We'll go to war for money. We'll lie for money. We'll steal for money. It's unbelievable what is done in the name of money, disowning people, everything you can think of. And we don't like to think it, but we've really made money God. Money is what decides. I want to go here. I want to do this. I want to take this class. I want to go on that retreat. I want to buy this house. I want to, take get a new degree. I want to move, whatever it is. Well, usually it requires money. And what's the first thing you do? I don't have it. I shouldn't spend it. I don't know where it is. I don't know how I'll get it. I shouldn't spend the money on me. I should save it for my kids, my husband, my wife, my future, my bills, my debt. Everything comes before you. And money does too. Okay, cool. So let's dive in a little bit deeper. I kind of told you a little bit about me. So my name is Akasha. You can find me at nanakasha.com. And I am a certified hypnotherapist, a doctor of homeopathy, and I've been to many mystery schools. I'm a Melchizedek master, Kamanon master, Gaianon master, life body healer, and on and on and on, all those fun things, because I'm a seeker. I love to find my freedom. I need to move. Freedom is my number one value. If I feel trapped mentally or emotionally, I can't even wear turtlenecks. I can't even put tight clothes on. I don't like tight shoes. I need open air. I need views. I need sun. I need windows. I need everything has to feel free. So I loved this image when I picked this because so many of my clients we go deep. I'm a shamanic healer, and I combine energy medicine and light body healing and the ability to see. I can see visions. I can see into your energy field, and I could see money. I could see opportunity. I could see different kinds of energy that represented abundance, is basically, or prosperity around people. So for many, many years, it's all I did was I dove into my money story and other people's money story, and I helped people create their money muse, and I helped people discover that their money patterns and fears were the same ones that they had with their family or with sex or with love or with their love relationship or in their worthiness or in their self-esteem. So that's the reason why freeing yourself from all blocks, all traps, all patterns, known and unknown, visible from this life or any other, whether you believe in other lives, it doesn't matter. There's patterns in there that are holding you back, not only from making more money or being in the flow of prosperity or trusting or not being attached to particular things or particular amounts of money coming in at particular times in particular ways. You can't believe the amount of limits we put on. So I'm doing a class, and it's starting in a week. It's starting on the 28th of November, and it's recorded, and it's going to be yours forever, and it's designed for you to repeat these shamanic journeys and repeat these cleanses and repeat these processes and take these power tools that I give you in all different ways from all the different modalities I've been in and I've used and I've taught and created, I don't know, over probably close to 200 online programs at this point. And my favorite thing is to go deeper. What's underneath that? What's underneath that? What's underneath that? Why? Because that's freedom. So if you feel stuck or blocked or enslaved or trapped at all in any way, I was talking to some different clients recently, and their living situations were very challenging. They were living with family members or parents or grandparents, and the houses were full of mold and the toxins were making them sick, but they didn't feel like they had freedom to go anywhere else. They didn't have the money, or they had made an obligation to help that person or to do something. And somebody was living with somebody or had a roommate that was bullying and abusing and passive aggressive, but they felt afraid to speak up or to say anything or to reclaim their space, so they were trapped and depressed. And maybe you feel trapped by your job. Maybe you don't like what you do, but you don't know what else to do. Or you want to make more money, but you can only see this one path for money to come to you. Well, there's a million pathways for money to come to you, literally infinite, actually. And so it's that you've been programmed to think this way, and you've been programmed with lack and limitation, because we all have. And so we're really looking at that hard, really challenging, that we're all slaves and we're all slave drivers. Generally, we're the hardest on ourselves and we drive ourselves, but sometimes we expect from others harshly, high expectations. We judge, we criticize, we complain, we push ourselves and others. I know that I have family members like this. They're very, very challenging people to be around because they're so hard on themselves and they're so hard on everyone else, and nothing is ever perfect. Well, that's a slave driver. Okay, so if you have that pattern in any part of your life, or if you feel like a victim to other people who are bullying you or that you want to live up to, or you feel like you're under their control or their thumb, or they're in control of the money, or you can't do this until that, Sometimes people become slaves to their children. Well, I can't do this because I can't move because it's not good to move your children when they're in school. What a bunch of crap that is. It's the best thing ever. Moving and travel is the best education you could ever have. Meeting more people, seeing more cultures, getting used to travel, opening up yourself up. If you're shy and you're stuck in one place, don't stay in your comfort zone. That's not freedom. But you and I and everybody has been led to believe that if we get on the treadmill of everything we're supposed to do, buy the insurance and get married and buy a picket fence and have a dog and have a job and make it look like this and do what makes me feel happy and don't upset me. We're slave to our families, we're slave to our partners, we're slave to our jobs, because those things generally dictate who we are, what we do, what we decide, when we decide to do it. So today we're just picking one topic in what we're going to dive into in this course, which is money and success. But in the course, we're going to dive into 6 different topics. So if you didn't know you're in bondage, and I find that hard to believe, then it's time to wake up and be honest with yourself. This isn't, don't get all into the idea of slaves and African Americans. And yes, that's what this is going to bring up. But that is not what we're talking about here. Okay, so we're talking about something deeper, something higher, something even more powerful that drove people to be the slave drivers and the slaves, that still embed not just African Americans, but all of us with fears on both sides, fears of retribution if we speak up, express ourselves. Are you afraid to tell people you're a psychic, you're a healer, your family? Are you afraid to admit it to yourself? Are you afraid to let go of your secure job and go do what your passion really is? Are you in bondage? Are you tied to anything? Well, guess what? We are all slaves to something deeper, older, and more powerful than we can imagine. And because of the 35 years of deep inner work I've done and I've been doing with other people, I literally can tell you I've never met anybody who's completely free, even people who are quote unquote successful. They're making money and all those different parts of their lives look like they're together. There's something that they're still stuck on. So you don't reach a goal and everything's perfect and you never have to face a challenge again. That's not the way it works on the planet Earth. Excuse me a second. I apologize. I was getting a very dry throat there. Whew, bear with me. So I want to invite you to come on this journey with me, because this is the time to do it. 2020, wow, intense, amplified, falling apart, metamorphosis, grand transformation, transparency, end of the old, but the new isn't built yet. Everything, yes, all of it together, inside of you, inside of the planet, inside of structures and institutions, everything. So if you've actually lost your job or your house or a friend or something else this year, you should look at it as guidance, as a blessing, as a freedom. You've been unlocked from a way of being. And what it does is it gives you an opportunity to now stand up, to walk around, to look somewhere new, to think differently, to reach out past your limitations. But the limitations tell you, feel bad, feel guilty, go into a new bondage over the fact that something has disappeared from your life. When you lose money, quote unquote, you buy something, you didn't like it, or you give someone a deposit and they don't give it back, or whatever, or you feel like, or you lent people money and they didn't pay you, or you gave someone credit and then did work for them and they didn't pay you, or whatever, right? Think of all the different ways that money feels like injustice. Feels like, who has the power? Well, I gave you the money, but you didn't give me this, or I've decided the value of what you gave me wasn't worth that, or I don't feel like I'm paid my value, or I'm afraid to ask for my value. Right? I could literally stand here today and riff for about 6 hours about every single layer, because I've done the deepest work: hypnosis, shamanic journeying, energy work, energy scans, past life regressions, Akashic record, journeys, and on and on and on. And we look and what you're going to learn in this is you're going to get an opportunity to go into every single area of who you are. It's sort of like when we take a pill and think that our disease is going to go away. That pill is only good for the symptoms that are in your body. But you have a mind and a mental body that's filled with beliefs, and it's filled with thoughts, and it's filled with ideas and attitudes, and it holds on to regret and grief and anger and blame and revenge and fear. And you're carrying all that around, and you have an emotional body, and it's heavy. It's your power field, but the power is mostly weighed down with these old things. So the patterns that create challenges and struggle and limits and lack in your life, it's time to uncover them and release them. So one of my clients went through and discovered 5 different slave past or previous lives, or other lives or parallel lives. Everything exists already, okay? And we're working with her, shifting both science, education, and deep inner experience, and teaching her energy work. She really wants to be freed from her patterns because she's a slave driver. She's the one that told me. Her higher self said to her one day, because when you do work with me, you talk with your higher self. And her higher self told her one day, you're both the slave and the slave driver. And she realized, I drive myself, and it's never enough. And everybody around me knows it's never enough. And I don't think what they do is ever enough. But I'm also a slave because I don't think I'm enough, and I feel like everybody expects everything to me, and I don't feel like I have the option, and I'm the one that has to do all the providing, and I don't have anyone who ever does anything for me. You see how that is? What is a slave? Slave is somebody who doesn't have any rights, who doesn't have any powers, who doesn't get to say or choose, right? All of these kinds of things. So if you have any area of your life, money, success, self-image, relationships, health, body image, anything, your job, your purpose, your skills, who you do, what you do in your job, what energy are you taking there? Do you hate it? Do you feel trapped? Do you feel like you have to do it? Or do you love it, but you don't make enough money, so you feel undervalued? So then you've enslaved yourself and hooked yourself and tied yourself down in another way, so you drag that heavy thing around. The shackles and the balls and chains that we carry around now are emotional and mental. They're karmic, they're spiritual, and they live inside of our energy field. We hook ourselves to this, oh, wow, I'm a terrible person because I lost money, I went bankrupt. I did. I thought, I literally didn't know if I wanted to live, to be honest, when I had to go through a bankruptcy during my divorce because I lost everything, and I thought I was set for life. I had 80 properties and all this stuff, right? So what I did for myself and what I've done layer after layer, whether it's money or job, whether it's love or sex, whether it's body, image, purpose, soul purpose, accessing your spiritual abilities. Do you feel like you're trapped? Do you want to talk to your higher self? Do you want to communicate with angels? Do you want to see fairies and spirits? Do you want to do energy work, but you don't feel like you can, or you don't sense it, or you're afraid to, or you used to, but then you shut yourself down? All of these are the things we're talking about. Stuck, right? The energies. So we're going to cleanse and uncover, release, and rise out of the old contracts, agreements, fears, vows, and blocks. I call them agreements because they happen from a decision that you make. And we'll go into those in a minute as we talk about some of the money stories and agreements and soul contracts that keep you stuck, especially around money. So it's only $150. It's half price. One of my clients kept saying, well, I don't know, do you have a payment plan? And I said, well, yes, we do. You can do 2 payments over 2 months, but it's only $150. And she said, oh, 150 times 6? I'm like, no, 150 total. So you're going to get 6 live, and then they're recorded. And they're going to record it in a way that you can pull them off the shelf and say, I need this process today. I need this cleanse today. I want to do this journey again to see what's underneath that, or I cleared that pattern and this other one just came up. So this is something for you to use over and over and over and over. And if you're stuck in lack patterns around money and career or success, today what we're going to do is look for the beliefs and inner contracts that restrict, shackle, bond, trap, limit, and tie you down when it comes to making, I don't know what recording is supposed to say, making, receiving, I think that is, making, receiving, and growing money and success. Success is your own inner perception of success. And I've completely changed my idea of what success is, and I'm happy. And suddenly I realized I'm literally living my bliss life, my ideal life. But it doesn't look the way I thought it would, like I have $1 million in the bank. $1 million in the bank isn't what brings you your bliss life. It can help, and it's kind of nice if you have it, but it's not what does it. So everyone has these energy patterns embedded within, and that's what we're talking, slave patterns. I keep using lots of different words for a couple of reasons. I want you to realize slave patterns are any place you feel stuck. Maybe you don't have clarity, you can't think of an answer or a solution, and yet there is a solution to whatever situation you're in right now. But if you stay stuck in the story, if you stay stuck in your mind going round and round, figuring out what to do, trying to figure it out, or working hard, lots of hours physically trying to force it to happen, those ways are the way we've done everything in the past, only mentally and physically working really hard, and that doesn't work anymore. Now you have to recognize that you have an emotional body and a mental body and a spiritual body and all these other parts to you. And in your chakras and your energy centers, you hold patterns, and those patterns direct, block, repel, disconnect, or connect you to energies you may or may not want. So what we want to do is find these patterns, understand them, reclaim them, bring them back home, and then free them of holding that pattern in place. Most people have different experiences in this life or others where they were attacked or killed, betrayed, or tortured in some way. And they then made a decision that they would never, whatever they did, again. And that pattern now is preventing them from making money, speaking up, accepting who they were, communicating with their higher self, finding the love of their life, whatever it is. That's the very short version of what the energy patterns within you are. And the reason I know this is I've seen so many of them, I journey with them, and at every level, every step of my path, learning all these different modalities and ways of seeing and analyzing our energy field and working with it, I can tell you that when you free and find one of those patterns, you free yourself, and it goes across the board through every part of your life. So the reason we're talking today about money is because money is an easier place to see your patterns. Now, if you're sitting here saying, I don't have a problem with money, my money's great, I love money, I make money, money flows to me easily all the time, fantastic, congratulations. However, I'd like you to take a deeper look because these things go up and down. And how do you feel if you lost all your money? How would you feel if the stock market crashed and you had nothing, or somebody, hacked your accounts and stole all your money, or you lost your job, or you got divorced and everything went to the lawyers? Okay, so I'm not trying to be negative. I'm trying to get you to realize I've been through this. I thought I was set for life. Things happen. And then I realized that's why we're here. We're here to flow. We're here like a heart, to contract and expand, and contract and expand. And so you need to flow with it, and you need to not be attached, because now you're a slave to your big house or your big bank account or to having those stocks. I mean, when all of it was disappearing during my divorce, I was like, but I worked really hard to get all this stuff. I was told that this was the stuff that was going to make me a good person and make me safe. And now it's all disappearing. I felt like I was being punished. I felt like I was a slave who'd reached too far. I'd asked for too much. I'd gained too much. I was too big for my britches. Who did I think I was? Now it's all going to be taken away, and you're going to be put back down where you belong, to wallow around with nothing in fear. So you see and feel these patterns, let them come up, because these strong inner decisions that we make in this or other lives when something major happens are karmic vows or soul contracts that get embedded in the soul and then brought intentionally into this life. And they're all training. So everything you've done up to this moment has been training for this moment, for you to now free yourself and take your strength and your experience and your wisdom and rise above all of it and live in prosperity and purpose. So take a moment and let's start writing down blocks around money and worthiness. I've been bringing a lot of the energies up for you already, talking about the stories, giving you examples, triggering within your mind and your emotion and your body, memories and thoughts and emotions. So if you feel stuff coming up, welcome to my world. You've entered into what I call the Infinity Healing Chamber. It's a temple of light within which we do all of our work, all of our teaching, all of our healing, all of our journeying. And it's at infinity. It's between the worlds and it's safe. And so you're in a loving space, and it's a beautiful time to just allow yourself to relax and let whatever thoughts or fears or memories are surfacing as I talk and I use the energy of my voice and these words to ping, right? To open you up so that you can begin to see. So let's look at the money and worthiness blocks, because the same blocks are going to be in other areas of your life, but these are the easiest to find. And they're usually the hardest to change because of the intense emotion around money and the idea that it's tied to our safety, our value, and our livelihood, right? If I don't have money, I'm going to struggle. I'm going to be uncertain. I'll be lost. I'll be alone. I'll die in the gutter with Bubba, okay? So those inner fears, whatever version is within you, are running around inside of there. That's what I call the poor girl or the poor mind part of you that likes to bring up the fears that drive you like a slave driver to do things, to take action, to accept jobs you don't like just because you have to, right? And you might be being bullied by somebody in your life. Go get a job, just go get a real job, or go do this, or don't do that, or it's everything and everyone around you has the possibility and potential to be driving you, to be forcing you, to be trapping you, to be binding you to something. Is it really what you want? Are you free enough to know that you're choosing what you truly would like, what is truly optimal for your higher self? So it is like a money prison, chained to heavy limiting energies that won't set you free. And these show up in every area of life, okay? So you might have, what I saw a lot when I first started doing hypnosis sessions was a lot of men came to me, and they were around 30, 28 to 34 maybe, and they were having money challenges, self-image challenges around success, who they were, whether they were good enough. And as we went deeper, they shared that they also had sex and love issues, whether they were already married or not. And we started to see that underlying that were the same patterns. If you don't feel worthy of money, do you feel worthy of love? Do you feel worthy of sex? Do you feel worthy? Is your body good enough to receive pleasure and love, attention, touching? Or do you feel like a prisoner of your body? Like you can't get out of it. You can't lose the weight. You can't ever think it's good enough because you've put yourself into that prison. A lot of weight, and I know a lot about this, is based on protecting yourself from men, or from just making yourself so unappealing nobody will bother with you anymore, right? Or weighing yourself down and holding yourself back because you're such a big energy and you speak up and then people don't like it and then you get in trouble, so then you shrink back down again. So physical health is a huge area that is a reflection of our slave patterns. People will literally feel shackles on their ankles or their wrists as we do these inner journeys. Recently, one of my clients re-experienced a slave life where she was being lashed and could see and feel the back, and afterwards was thrown in a dirty dungeon and just curled up in a ball and said, "I'll be good, I'll be good, I'll be good, I'll be good." Now, what was the point of her seeing that, re-experiencing the essence of that lifetime? Because this is what happens in my journeys is, I don't know where you'll go. I'm not going to tell you that, but you're going to have the opportunity to go live and then talk to me about it and ask me, and I'll help you decipher it or look into your energy and help read what's happening. And then you'll be able to repeat it so that you can truly get to the bottom of all of these patterns, whether they're around money, love, or purpose. And as this life, what this part of this life that she saw, she realized that the decision, so this is what I'm talking about, the agreement, the contract, the vow, the block, the tie, the shackle, whatever you want to call it energetically, was made when in that life she was broken and beaten to the point where she said, I'll be good, I'll be good, I'll do whatever you want. I won't ever say anything, I won't speak up, I won't expect anything for myself. And now that pattern plays out in this life, where you hold yourself back and you're afraid to speak up and you're afraid of retribution if you have too much or ask for too much, and you just want to be good and want to be liked so that you're safe and you don't get punished again. So these are examples, but you have to go underneath the story to the energy. And then a few days later, she texted me and she said, oh my gosh, she's the one that said slave, slave driver. I'm both the slave and the slave driver. And she said, I just realized that I'm lashing out at others less because I didn't do it for a few days and then I just did. And I realized I was lashing out in anger, in frustration, in wanting other people to be better, to go faster and do the same thing to myself. How amazing energetically is that she was being lashed in that previous life and now she's lashing out. That's why I say all these different words so that if you find the one that triggers for you, your words and the way that you feel it and the way that you act, they're so congruent with what's really going on underneath it. So this is like a treasure hunt. My work is like a treasure hunt. I love what I do, whether it's privately or in these group classes or in my school. Everything is, let's go deeper, let's go underneath that, let's see what that energy is saying to me, what's it communicating, what is energy is it holding, can I free it from the agreement? So after that life, she made a soul level vow and agreement. You can imagine the depth of emotion that went into building and embedding that vow. Don't do it. I'll be good, be good, be good, be good. Oh my God, be good. You don't ever want this to happen to you again. Now, you can probably remember something in this life where you were ridiculed or criticized, or you were punished in some way that was unfair, or worse, as I met a lovely man when I was in college from South Africa who was a journalist who was put in prison and put electrodes on his testicles just because he wrote an article that they didn't like. So yes, things still happen in this life. Does that mean he's a slave? No, he was eventually freed and moved on with his life. And yet we still have the threat of just not being liked, right? Or being fired from our job, or from not getting permission, or not letting somebody liking us or giving us the loan to buy our house or whatever. So we're all have these imprisoned, these trapped, these tied down, hands tied. My hands are tied. I just can't go. I don't see any way. There's no options. That's not the truth. But that's what it's like being chained to these beliefs. So physical health, it shows up. And if you've ever had money issues, you might realize that suddenly you start getting sick in interesting ways. Or if you're in a marriage that you need to get out of, you'll start getting sick eventually if you don't leave. Or if you're in a job that you won't leave, that you feel tied to, that you're afraid to speak up and to move on, you'll eventually create something in your physical body. And we talked about your self-image and your self-worth, and it's very much tied to the money part, but to many other aspects, and it's tied down. Your self-worth, as good as it might be right now, could be vastly better because it's infinite. The truth is, you're beautiful, you're wonderful, you're magnificent, you have access to the infinite field. There isn't anything that can hold you back that you haven't agreed to. So the beautiful thing is we go in and we find these patterns and we reclaim them and we understand and we unlock and we dissolve and we complete and we write new ones, and then we reinforce it and we cleanse and we re-embed it and we cleanse and we watch the ones that come up, and we truly go to the depth of being free. So we're going to do this now before the end of the year, and it goes 6 live calls between the 28th of November and the 9th of December because of 2020's accelerated energies. Everything is accelerated evolution and accelerated extinction right now. What is that? That's transformation. So if things are dying in your life, if your job is going, or if old ways of thinking or being, or old people that you've lived with, or just feeling trapped or like a victim in any area of your life, if you're sick of it, let's let it melt. Let's evolve fast. Let's let it go extinct and increase your ability to reveal and release these energetic chains that prevent you from living the life that your soul intended. So I want to invite you to join me and free yourself to live your prosperous life right now. And I don't have it on here, do I? It's nanakasha.com/freedom, and nanakasha.com/freedom. And I'll put it up on the screen in a minute if you want to join me. Now, when you first sign up, you immediately get the Infinite Self meditation, which is a really excellent one for you to be doing as we get ready. Monday, you're going to get a packet of, I call it a freedom kit, full of release forms, permission slips, and writing your story, and other exercises and things you can start to do right away all week before we get into our first class. And one of the things you're going to get are 3 light body energy cleanses that I'm going to create just for this course, and they involve very powerful, very high level energies, and they're going to be created and recorded so that you can repeat them, video or audio, as many times as you want, and there'll be a nice length. So they're powerful energy medicine that free you on subtle levels of your being so that you can think, act, and accept at a higher level of consciousness, which is freedom. So the first cleanse is the soul contract cleanse. And this is where you're going to cleanse past and current contracts, agreements, and vows that you are negatively impacted by now. Like I said, money and success is only one area that we're going to go into in the class. We're talking about it today because it's such a juicy topic, and I want you to kind of awaken to some of your traps. And so what might be coming up right now, because inside of this chamber that we're in together right now, is your higher self is guiding you to free and bring up to the surface, to your awareness, those areas that is most optimal for you to focus on right now. So pay attention to what's coming up and take notes as we're talking. The next cleanse that you're going to get is the prison and bondage cleanse, and that's cleansing embedded patterns that act like ties or shackles, prisons, and bondage in your life, from financial or relationships, jobs, homes, self-expression, self-worth, any area at all. So as you can see, this is why you can reuse these over and over, because you can apply it to a lot of different things. You can say, oh, suddenly I'm feeling like I'm stuck, I'm in prison, I'm trapped by this job or this relationship or this thought or whatever this situation. Let me go do that cleanse again. And the third one is a retribution and loss cleanse. And this is a cleanse of fear of retribution, of death, punishment, and loss. I often call this the burned at the stake syndrome because of the deeply embedded fears across the planet from centuries of cruel abuse of power and manipulation, that at some point there is a fear that if I speak up, if I have too much, if I'm too successful or too happy or whatever, someone won't like it and I will be imprisoned, outcast, beheaded, burned at the stake, whatever you take. And these are things that have actually happened to people and come up in these previous and parallel life journeys where you see them. So you don't always go see a slave life. You might be a slave driver, or you might just go to a life where money was, you had money and you lost it, because this is an actual story from one of my clients, is that money, they were very wealthy. It was not in Germany. It was in a country near Germany, and the Nazis came in, and they had to bury their money and run and leave the country. And they never in that life were able to go back and reclaim all their wealth. But what was interesting in that life was the big pattern that client needed to see and to clear and to understand wasn't just, oh, I had a lot of money, bad people came, they were the reason why I lost it, and then I never got it back again. It's not fair. That's one thing. Like if you have a lot of money, it'll be taken from you. It'll make you a target. That's a very common fear that a lot of people carry around. That would be a slave pattern. But this one was deeper. She was actually the benefactor of the town. She was this beautiful, lovely older woman who had money and who generously gave to the town and to people and made it almost, she wasn't the queen, but she was like this benefactor. And that's what upset her the most, was the fact that she was separated from helping the people she loved. She no longer could help them because she didn't have money. She no longer could be the benefactor. She felt like a parent who was separated from their children and couldn't protect them and help them and support them and love them. So all levels of these patterns work in your life. And so she had manifested things in this life that where she felt separated from being able to help people, separated from that, and afraid that if she did make a lot of money or have a lot of success, that it would in some way make her a target or be taken from her. And she also felt guilt and shame that she didn't have enough money to help the people she loved. So the same pattern came through in this life. So these are some of the slave patterns that we're going to work on in the class: slave to money, slave to survival or hard work or lack, not enough, never enough for you, you're never enough, constant striving. That's one of the biggest underlying ones that's out there. Unfulfilled, block flow, money and success is controlled by others outside of you. Those are some of the patterns. A slave to what others think or say or do. You're held back by others' opinions and threats. So you've got money thoughts in you right now. You have success thoughts in you right now. As I'm reading these and sharing these, let these open up to you where you have stuck patterns. You have to see them, or you have to be willing to free them. You don't always have to see them and know what every one of them is, because the way that we do things is a lot of it just goes and frees, and only the few that you really need to know on a conscious level for whatever reason, and you will know why, come to your awareness. The rest of them, we can let them free the energy and transmute and transform the energy without having to know every single problem they've ever had, okay? So are you a slave to what others think? Is there someone or some group or everyone in your life that you're in fear of what they'll think of you and how they'll act or whether they'll agree with it? How about spending money? Think about spending money. Do you feel free to spend money? Is there someone or people in your life who will judge or get angry of how you spend money? Do you want to hide where you spend money? I know I have a lot of clients who have a separate credit card or hide purchases in a room or under a bed from their spouse or their partner or their parents or something, so that they don't know they've spent the money, because they know that person will criticize them or won't agree to it, or somehow it will be a hassle or a struggle. So that's not being free. Okay, if you're held back by others' opinions, and this was a huge one for me, it's taken me my entire life, and I still find little places where I'm attached, but I am so free compared to what I was before. Oh my God, people were living in my head. My dad and my husband mostly were in my head. It didn't matter if I was going to spend one penny or $10,000. The first thing that would happen in my head was those two would start having a conversation. So who's in your head? If you decide to buy something, what happens? What emotions come up? What thoughts come up? Who's in there? Who told you that? What about debt? Debt is what a screwed up situation debt is. I once channeled in the Spirit of Money class, I channeled the voice of debt. And it was so interesting because I was like listening as this was coming through me, and I was like, wow, that's so true. When you want to buy a house and you go to get a house loan, you really want that loan. You want that debt. You're like, oh, I want this house. I love this house. I found this house. And you can see your family growing up in it. And you can see yourself cooking in it. And you see, oh, you're just like, oh, this is it. This is it. Please. Oh, and you hope and you pray and you work hard. You get your paperwork together and you get that loan and you get that house. And then a little while later, you start grumbling when you write that check for your payment every month. And pretty soon you feel burdened by it. And pretty soon you feel pissed about it. Pretty soon you feel mad at the money and mad at the loan. And then you feel mad at yourself. And then you start beating yourself up and you add all these shackles and chains of guilt and fear and anger and all this other stuff. Oh, these are heavy energies. You're going to learn the scale of consciousness and how to see where you are and how these thoughts and feelings, where they're putting you, what state of consciousness they're putting you in. If you can't see a solution, there's a reason. It means you're tied to a low state of consciousness, because no, you can't see things from when you're in the basement. You need to go to the tall, tall tower, right? You need to go up in your states of consciousness. So with money, excuse me, Do you, I have this a lot. So hopefully in March, we're going to start again, but I do Bliss Life retreats. And these retreats are spiritual retreats. They're adventurous. We go into caves with waters, and we have shamanic ceremonies in the jungle, and we climb pyramids, and we do activations and have cacao ceremonies. And we just have an incredibly deep experience on many levels, and where it's very multidimensional and spiritual, and people who are meant to come really feel the call. And they're generally, $2,500 to $3,000, depending on how long they are. And so a lot of people get called and want to come, and then they get into the money problem. Now, if you sell your own services, you know that the people hits the first thing that they're going to hit once they decide that they really like you, or they want to do work with you, or buy what you're doing, or your artwork, or whatever, is, oh, but should I spend the money? Is it worth it? Who's going to argue with me? Should I go into debt over it? On and on and on. And the second guessing and the doubt are heavy energies. And then you spend the money with that guilt. And that's what buyer's remorse is, because you didn't allow yourself to freely choose to go within. You felt tied. You're down here in the emotional prison, not making choices to buy things from a higher state that has nothing to do with the money. Because the higher state will tell you this is what's optimal for you right now, not what your craving is on an ego level. You've got to be able to rise above that. That's what this is doing. We're going to free you over and over. So what are the money stories that are coming up for you right now? How does money trap you? Is money the first line of defense the minute that you think about something? You think about taking a course, going on a retreat, going to a spa, getting a massage, buying a car, buying a dress, buying new dishes, going to a healer, all the different things. What's the first thing that comes up? This is going to show you the bars in your money prison. What will other people think about what you do and spend? Here's one. This is kind of fun idea. So if you want more money, and it's okay if you do, and most people do, and it's okay, right? How would it feel if you walked into the middle of the room and all your friends and family are standing there, and you said, I want to make an announcement. I want to tell you all that I intend to be fabulously rich and fabulously happy. I'm going to quit doing everything that you think I should do. I'm going to follow my passion, listen to my higher self. I'm going to whatever it is you want to do, and I am going to love my life. That usually brings up a lot of squirms. So feel the squirm for a minute. Relax. And now, why? Because they'll think you're stupid or silly. They'll make fun of you. They'll get mad at you. They'll take the money from you. You'd be embarrassed. You'd be outcast. You'd be what? What would happen? That would be the retribution that then is your shackle that keeps you from deciding and choosing what you would really like. Now, I want you to think about something right now that you would like in your life. What's the one thing you would most love? You know what it is, just let it come to you. Are you free to choose it? Are you free to buy it? Do you have the free time to do it? Do you have the free money or credit to buy it? Do you have the freedom of choice to make the choice, even if you don't know how or where or when, to move forward towards it? Are you truly free? So see what's coming up, because you're starting to get this inner vision of being able to see how imprisoned, tied down, and enslaved we all are energetically. So we're going to work on slave to fears of victimhood, right? If you believe you're a victim, if you feel like something's not fair, if you feel like you have no power, that idea of powerless, optionless, helpless, your hands are tied or you're hitched to something, Not feeling good enough is going to go throughout the whole thing, of course. So where in money, job, career, work, or lifestyle do you feel your hands are tied, you're powerless, or you don't have any options? And are you doing something? Do you feel enslaved or trapped in a job or in a life style or in a living situation that isn't beneficial to you, that doesn't lift you up, support you, expand you, make you feel healthy and awesome? And do you feel stuck there and not feel like you have any options? Then you've given your power over to being a victim of the fact that there's no money. And yes, I know COVID is going on right now, but it's not a reason to not move. People are moving all the time. Not even a reason to not travel. You make the choice that you feel comfortable with, but don't make that the shackle, the chain that you are tied to. Because there are many, many ways to create what you want. Don't blame anything, especially outside of yourself, and then don't blame yourself for being the block. Look for the block and go, wow, thanks for showing me the block. Now I see the block and I accept the block is there, and I'm not going to get involved in the story about why the block's there or who put the block there or why that person's terrible or why I'm dumb for having it. I'm just going to say, wow, hooray, I found the block, right? I'm not going to do what everybody else wants anymore. I'm not going to do what I should do anymore. I'm going to do what I want to. I'm going to follow what my heart wants, and I don't even know what that is because I've been so imprisoned. Now, money is a relationship, so we're going to touch on relationships like families and ancestors and beliefs and rules and cultures and genders and anything you feel like a slave to in that area. But right now, since we're really looking into money, money is a relationship. What's your relationship like with money? Do you limit yourself because you don't feel worthy of money or don't think you have enough money or don't believe there is enough money? Do you hold yourself back from ideas or actions, decisions or choices? Now be smart. There's a fine line between freeing yourself from these patterns and just go spending a bunch of money you don't have and then feeling guilty later. You don't take action and spend money you don't have if you're in fear and guilt, because that's the energy you're putting into the money and the situation. You don't build a business based on, I just want to make money, I'm afraid, because that's the energy that's going to be in the business. So I've built a lot of businesses. I've coached a lot of people to build their businesses. I've helped them from everything from their pricing and their fear of sales and their fear of asking for money and their fear of putting themselves out there and their fear of technology and everything, every level of it. And the most important thing in your job and in your business is that you are not putting energy of have to, blame, guilt, shame, or fear into your business or into what you offer or into asking for money. We don't want those energies in our money. So these are experiences we're going to take by doing the cleanses. We're going to go into conversations, understanding and unwrapping. We're going to work with tools like the violet flame, and we've got an emotional ties process, and we have release forms and soul contract forms and belief transformer forms. So we have all these tools, and then we're going to have the energetic medicine and the cleanses, and then we're going to have the journeys. You're going to have all these different things that you can go. They're multi-dimensional experiences. They work on every level of your being. And you have to free these patterns on all those different levels where they are most deeply embedded. You can't just do it by ignoring it or clearing your mind of it, but not paying attention to the emotional heaviness that you're carrying, right? So these include deep healings, releasings, and reclamation. We're going to go into your Akashic records and into your simultaneous lives and find the vows and the soul contracts and the curses and the embedded programs and all these energies that are there in your field that are relevant and optimal for you to know at this time so you can free yourself. Fantastico! So this is the course, Released Freedom from Slave and Slave Patterns. That's just a small little tasty poo of what we're doing. And what we're going to do is go into, there's the link for joining the class. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit more on the money thing. So we're going to take just a little bit longer. Oh, it's 11:11. How beautiful is that we wrap that up? So I hope you'll join me. I know that it's a very direct way of talking about this topic, but I don't think it's time to mess around anymore. You want to be free. If you don't free yourself, you're dragging these energies into this decade, into this golden age decade, and the breakdown is continuing. So take advantage of the end of 2020. Release yourself, free yourself so that you can be lighter and move into 2021. Okay? So hopefully you've been writing down and you've been experiencing memories and thoughts and realizing the different areas around money and success that you have been actually experiencing as a limit and maybe not realizing it as something you're enslaved to. So one of the reasons that I talk about, I mention all these different words when I talk is because when I learned homeopathy, you have to do an intake with a client, extremely detailed, hours long, sometimes 3 hours long. And you want to know everything like, do you crave certain foods? What time at night do you wake up? When do you feel better when you're cold or when you're warm? All of these different things. And then when I became a hypnotherapist, you also have to do a very insightful intake. You have to ask questions. You're looking for energy. You're looking for triggers. You're looking for the pain, for the fear, and you're looking for what it will feel like. I can see again for that person to understand how to shift them from their fear and their challenge and their block to their freedom and what they truly, truly like and want. So what's really important is that you get an opportunity to feel and experience some freedom around the topic that is most challenging for you. So right now, if you haven't written down or haven't brought up a couple of areas in your life where you feel stuck, trapped, enslaved, and shackled in some kind of an old pattern around money, success, self-image around those areas, asking for money, being willing to receive money, feeling comfortable receiving money. That one's a big one for a lot of people. And then keeping it or growing it or deserving it. Are there fears around being a victim? So there's a process that I do with private clients, and I think I'm coming out with a audio that you can buy probably next year, because we're going to do in January, I think we're going to do the Spirit of Money, a whole new version of the Spirit of Money. And so called Meet Your Money Muse, melt your money mask and meet your money muse. And essentially you see and feel and purge and recognize and acknowledge all those negative thoughts and beliefs and fears and emotions you have around money. And that's what I call your money mask. Once you bring that up, it manifests into something. And the kinds of things that this is manifested into for my clients over the years has been really stunning. So this negative aspect of money, this money as elusive, as the punisher, a lot of women would have, it would manifest as this wife beater man. Or one client, it manifested as a KGB sniper that constantly followed him around, ready to take him out if he got too much money or too successful. So he would limit people paying him. There's people who felt that their money mask was sort of like a dark killer kind of, person with a knife or whatever. So these kinds of energies and what they manifest as for you is communication. So I want you to know that as you look at your money blocks, you're going to be able to see and feel some of these deeper energies. They're heavy energies. They're not serving you. Having them tied to the meaning of money inside of you, well, that's your choice. You get to decide the relationship you have with money. You get to decide what you think money means, but you haven't felt that freedom before because everybody's told you what to think about money and how you make money and where money is and whether you've done it right or wrong or whether money is good or bad. All right, then your money muse can come forward. And what do you want you to begin to think? What kind of qualities would you like in your relationship with money? Do you want money to be something or someone that's reliable, trustworthy, that believes in you, that's loving and adoring and supportive, that's your best cheerleader, right? That money is this energy instead of this heavy energy that holds you back, limits you, imprisons you, traps you. Instead, it's the energy, the friend, the relationship that rushes to your side when you have an idea, rushes to your side when you want to go on a retreat, rushes to your side to help you figure out how to build this vision of the new world. What's your new life going to be like? And money comes and goes and flows. So you relax into a relationship with it. You trust that person. Maybe they can't be there every minute, so there's a little bit less of them. And then they come back and there's a bounty, but they're always there. So you build trust in that relationship, right? So I want to share a couple more stories before we end because these are so powerful when we get to see other people's situations. So do you judge money, where it comes from, and what you did to get it? This is another shackle. This is another trap or prison in the money prison and money bondage type of energy area. I had a client, a young man came to me who was very successful in Wall Street doing something right out of college, was a young buck and did well and saved and made a lot of money. But I think maybe 6 years, 7 years, he quit because he didn't like the energy of what he was seeing. So he had a bunch of money he made, but he didn't feel congruent with what he was doing because he did it to please his family. So now he had the money and his family was kind of upset with him that he quit his job, but he took that step to upset them and broke free. And he was trying to figure out what to do. So he was both trying to figure out what to do as well as trying to figure out, well, what do I do with how to make money? I can't remember exactly, but I think that he'd been living off of his money that he made for a while. And so it had gone down enough that he was like, okay, it's time for me to really figure out what to do. And the first time that we talked, I could see money all around him. I could see this energy that was money that was already his, money that was waiting for him, money that was, it was just this energy. And it was like, well, there's this energy there, it's yours. But there was a barrier between him and that money. And this is what the energy barrier was. He couldn't see it. He didn't know it was there. And he didn't ask or act on it because he had a belief that if you didn't work hard for the money, it wasn't good money. And then, so when he worked very hard on Wall Street, especially doing something he found distasteful, the money he earned, he felt like, oh, I earned that money, damn it. I did really hard, nasty work for that money. And yeah, that's good money. But if somebody gave him money, like his grandfather gave him some money, he felt guilty. He didn't feel like he worked hard enough for that money. So he judged that money. Are you judging the way the money's coming to you? Have you ever been like, I need the money, I can't pay the rent or something, and the money comes at the last minute, and you're like, oh, phew, thank goodness, and then you find yourself starting to complain about how the money came, instead of just being in pure gratitude and wonder that, wow, look, it happened? You're like, well, it would have been nice if it showed up sooner, or I would have rather made it on my own through selling products than my mother giving it to me, or I wish it was this way, or I wish it was that way. Do you see how energetically we are incredibly rude in our relationship with money? or incredibly rude about the pathways that our higher self in the universe is finding to bring us money and success. If you got a loan to buy your house, bless that loan. That's money. Bless it every day. Thank it. Thank everything. That's the universe. That's your higher self saying, yes, we trust you. Yes, you're abundant. Yes, you can have this. Yes, it's here. And then trust that you can pay it back. Don't feel like, oh, okay, I got that money. I was good enough in that money to get that money, but now I'm not good enough anymore and I probably can't pay it. And I've been there. I understand. If you can't pay your house payment, it's not permanent. And there are solutions. But it's being tied to this fear. And then what will happen? And who will know? And how will I be embarrassed if I can't pay my bills on time? Oh, that was a horror show for me. I never paid my bills late. I didn't know people didn't pay their bills. So my fashion design business went down because people didn't pay me. And I was so shocked and so traumatized. And then I went through my divorce and my bankruptcy, and I suddenly had to stop paying bills, and I was horrified. And I had to go through this entire transformation about what I believed about money, about bills, about debt. No, I'm not saying, hey, don't pay your bills. Not at all. I'm saying, look at the pattern underneath it. Why can't you pay your bills? Because you have some of these patterns. Let's free it. So what happened with this client was one of the very first patterns that came up in our session was this idea that he judged money. And he kept giving me more and more examples of how little amounts and big amounts, he was terrified of being given money or it being too easy. And the thing that he wanted to do was too easy. He loved doing it. If people paid him for it, he would feel bad taking that money. But I'm so good at this work and I love what I do. I hear healers do this all the time. Oh, this is spiritual work. I can't accept money for it. That's the silliest slave pattern I've ever seen. That's a definite slave pattern right there. If you've got that, oh, this is sacred work. Money shouldn't be involved. It sullies it. Then you're the one who has blocks around money because money isn't a bad thing. Money's over here going, excuse me, don't make me the villain. I'm just here as an abundant energy that you've given in energy and emotion and power to. Change what you believe about it. Right? So the fact that he believed if I just receive money, it's not good. I almost feel like it's drug money and I want to get rid of it. That's what he said. I almost feel like it's drug money and I don't want to touch it. I ignore it and it kind of finds a way to go out of my life. This is very important to understand how powerful these patterns and energies are because they are what prevent you. If you're on a money roller coaster like I was, there's a reason. You could stretch yourself, but then you haven't freed yourself if you go back down. Or you're not willing to ride and move into the next flow. And then you're struggling and go in fear the whole time. One of the first things I freed myself from was that fear, living in fear every day. Fear wasn't good enough. Fear there wasn't going to be enough. Oh my goodness. It's a constant in the pit of your stomach. Does this person like me? Does that person like me? What did I do wrong? What can I do different? Oh my goodness. Stop guessing. Stop trying to please everyone. Unhook, untie, unshackle, unburden yourself from all of these things. And come and join me. So nanakasha.com/freedom. I hope that we're going to play together and free you before 2020 ends so that you can float energetically like the highest abundant being into 2021. Because what happens, do you know where the field of abundance is in states of consciousness? It's at joy. It's way up there. Way up there. Joy is past courage. It's past willingness. It's past acceptance. It's past forgiveness. It's past love. And when you go into joy and the field of abundance opens, you don't see lack. You don't feel like you're not enough. You don't think that there's not enough. You don't feel that there's any limitation. If you truly are meant to do something, you know that there's a pathway to it. So you have fun looking around and exploring in the infinite field for what is a good way or what's a better way for this to happen and manifest. There's infinite number of solutions for you. Thank you for spending this time with me. Namaste. Many blessings. I hope that Ganesha here is the remover of obstacles, and he's been here just flowing this beautiful energy into us through this, as well as our love and our protector and absorber of negative energies, our obsidian. And we've been flowing on a journey together. So whether or not we went into a trance state or meditation, it doesn't matter. Go enjoy the day, take some time to write about what's coming up, and pay attention what's going to come up for the next few days, because I think what you're going to feel and what you're going to see is going to amaze you, because this is sort of like taking off the bandages and letting your eyes see again, taking off the dark glasses and letting yourself see clearly, or putting on some glasses that let you see clearly. That's what this is. We just did a beautiful energy process to raise your awareness, to begin to make visible to you those patterns that are holding you back, whether it's money, success, self-image, or anything else. So please tell anyone you think would be blessed by this, and I hope to see you. Namaste. Akasha here, and please join me, nanakasha.com/freedom. If you have any questions, reach out to nanakasha.com. You can send an email to support@nanakasha.com. Everything is down below in the amazing description. And I hope that you will free yourself, because as we all free ourselves, we give freedom to everyone else. And the very first call we're going to do in this class is to free the earth, all humanity, you, ancestors, plants, everything. We're going to clear and cleanse and do a journey for this whole biosphere that we live within and that we're a part of, so that we move into the other journeys like money and relationships and love and health, and we cleanse and clear those soul contracts. Have a beautiful and blessed day, everybody. Thank you. Let me go ahead and put this back up here. I hope you'll join me. You can read all about this class, when, where, how, get the immediate free bonus, the infinite self meditation, and then you're going to get your freedom kit. You're going to have release forms and soul contract forms. These are fun tools to play with. We're going to show you how to weave energies and free yourself. And I want you now, not later, to free yourself. I'm here as the guide to offer this to you. You're the one that gets to free yourself. And those chains literally transmute and transform into freedom. Fly into the sun, across the sea of abundance. Thanks, everybody. Have a beautiful and blessed day.